Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Courtney and I'm a full-time reseller on Poshmark and eBay. If you're not new, thanks for coming back. It always means the world to me. If you like reseller content, specifically Poshmark and eBay, but a lot of things can be applied to other platforms as well, or if you like haul videos, really anything reseller related, please feel free to hit that little subscribe button down below. I try to put out 1 to 2 videos each week, and I'm always trying to do more variety. So one of the things I thought I'd start a little mini series on is reseller numbers. So I am still new at reselling and still figuring things out. And one of the things I'm figuring out is, what does it really cost to sell an item on Poshmark? And I'm using Poshmark as the example because there are elements about Poshmark that I feel frustrated about because of the time aspect. I know that a lot of people like Poshmark for the social aspect, but what I'm starting to realize is the more inventory you have, the more you have to share, the more time it takes each day, and the more frustration that could potentially build. Time is money, and so I wanted to kind of deep dive into what's the real cost to sell an item. So I have 4 examples that I'm going to share. Once I share those 4 examples, I'll at the end also mention a couple other scenarios that might not fit or you might have encountered and might have thought of, what about those kind of things. And I also have some other notes that I didn't include in these scenarios for a different reason, or just kind of additions that I'll include at the end. So with that said, the first scenario, first example that I've encountered all of these examples. So with that, the first example is you sell something for $10. And I don't think many of us are aiming for that, but most of us have encountered that. Oftentimes I realize when I'm at the bins, when I'm at a yard sale, or even if I'm at a dollar day at Goodwill, that sometimes the price of an item up front can mislead you into thinking it's worth buying. So with me, if I were to have purchased an item for $1, and it ended up taking 1 month to sell, which is not an unreasonable amount of time, and it sold for $10. What that would look like is, in the matter of processing an item for me, is washing, steaming, taking photos, doing the inventory, packaging, and then inventory numbers. So there's kind of multiple steps in my processing time. And I estimate for each item it takes me approximately 10 minutes. Now you could be significantly less, maybe you're a little bit more. That's just kind of the approximate number I choose to use for my calculations. With that, if I'm paying myself minimum wage, which is $12 an hour in my area, and I were to factor in that 10 minutes of time just at minimum wage, that would cost $2 of my time. Poshmark fees, anything under $15 is going to be a flat fee of $2.95. The sales tax is something that I have started to consider in my calculations. I don't give tax advice. I won't give tax advice. I do have a father who is a CPA who can answer all of my tax questions. And I would just recommend that if you don't know anything about sales tax and you do sell on a platform, definitely feel free to ask your tax professional that you use, because there have been some changes recently due to, I believe, a Wayfair lawsuit that might impact all of our businesses, and that's all I can say. So with this calculation, in my area, sales tax is approximately 7.25%. So I'm just going to use that for this calculation. So that would break down to 73 cents for this $10 item. Sharing. So if I were to share this item once per day for 30 days, it would cost me 50 cents of my time. That's assuming that it takes me approximately 5 seconds to share that item. Shipping and handling is the process, not only the cost of supplies to send out these packages, but also the time it takes to handle the item to ship out. So that's retrieving the item from my bin inventory system. That is updating my spreadsheet, the numbers around that sold item, and that's getting the item packaged up and to the post office. So I estimate approximately $1 per item for shipping and handling. With that said, on this $10 item, when you remove all of those factors, you're left with $1.82 in profit, which is a profit. So it's not a bad thing. It's just, I think what I have until recently kind of thought of is first the payout. What does Poshmark pay you on an item? And then second, what are your cost of goods? But what I'm starting to break down, and what I thought, since I'm breaking it down for myself, I would share with you, and hopefully it might be helpful for some of you as well. The second example is something I think we all probably encounter quite a bit. I know that my first 6 months, I had an average sale price of approximately $25, and I had an average cost of good of approximately $5. With that said, if I were to have an item, purchase it at $5, it takes 3 months to sell, which is still not unreasonable for me, and it sells for $25, I still have that $2 processing fee to get the item listed and stored. I have $5 in Poshmark fees. This is now in that 20% that Poshmark takes. I have $1.81 that I'm considering for sales tax. I have $1.50 in sharing costs. So that's my time to share this item once per day over the 3-month period of time. I have that $1 shipping and handling cost, and that brings the profit of this $25 sale down to $8.69. Again, it's a profit, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with this profit, but when you get the payout from Poshmark of $20, it can sometimes, at least with me, mislead me into thinking that I'm getting more profit than I actually am. Example number 3, this one doesn't happen as often, but hopefully we all sometimes occasionally find that item that goes for $50, has great comps. Maybe you spend up a little bit more for it because you know it's a great item. So in this situation, let's just assume the item sells for $50, the cost of goods was $10, and it takes 6 months to sell. Again, sometimes you hold out for the right buyer, you might get a lot of lowball offers, and you finally end up selling it in 6 months. In this situation, you still have the $2 processing fee. Again, that doesn't change for most items for me. It's typically the same. It's $10 in Poshmark fees. It's $3.63 in sales tax. It's $3 of my time to share the item once per day for 6 months. It's $1 in shipping and handling, and that leaves me with a total profit of $20.37. With that said, the last example definitely doesn't happen to me that often, but has happened a number of times, and that is when I have something that sells for $100. This could be, in this example, maybe something you buy at a Nordstrom Rack for retail arbitrage. It's new with tags, it's a great brand, it's 90% off the original price from the designer, and you know it's gonna get some money. But it takes a little bit longer to sell. So in this situation, let's just assume you hold out for the right buyer for a year, it sells for $100, and it costs you $20. Still have that $2 processing fee or time that it takes to process, $20 in Poshmark fees, $7.25 in sales tax that I'm calculating for my numbers, $6 in sharing time, and $1 in shipping and handling. So what that leaves me with is $43.75 profit on that $100 sold item. So you might be sitting there thinking, well, what about this? And what about that? There are hundreds, if not thousands of different scenarios. And the goal of this, and the goal that I'm trying to do for myself, or what I'm trying to think of when I source, is that it's not just the Poshmark fees or any platform fees and the cost of goods. There are many different elements that I would like to personally consider, and that maybe you want to consider as well. So with that said, 2 other examples that are a little bit more extreme that go against those. You find something at the bins. At my bins, my average is usually around $1.50 per item. Let's say it sells for 2 days for $100. Dream, yes, please. That would be amazing. I think we all would like that. In this situation, your profit's going to be significantly higher. Your cost of goods is lower, and the time to share is significantly less, almost nothing with 2 days of sharing. So with that said, your profit in this situation would be more like $68.25. And that's not bad. And sometimes you just don't know how long it's going to take for an item to sell. So the other extreme is you buy something, or in this situation, you get something for free. I actually don't I'm starting to be very picky about what I list because I'm starting to understand the total cost to sell an item, which is my time. And so let's say you get a free People top. We all love the brand. I love the brand. And you think, I'm going to list this. It didn't cost me anything. What am I going to get? Well, if you were to sell it in 6 months and you were only to sell it for $10, let's say you did a couple closet clear outs, it still wasn't budging. Free People, there's a lot out there, and you end up selling it for $10. No big deal, right? When you subtract all those other calculations, the time to share, the Poshmark fees, the sales tax, the processing time, the shipping and handling, you're left with $32 in profit on that free item. And that might be okay with you. It's still profit and you still got paid for your time. However, it is something, again, that I'm trying to consider. So overall, the gist of this is time equals money for me, and I want to be understanding, or I want to know what I'm worth. And I think I'm worth more than minimum wage. So I use minimum wage in this example because I feel like it's relatable and it's kind of that bare minimum. However, if I were to value my time as more, I would say I'd like to make double that at least. So then the cost of sharing goes up. Another factor that you can think of is you can pay someone else to do this. There are plenty of the virtual assistants that would be happy to do some of the digital stuff for you, like sharing or anything like that. And they might have a lower price per hour, in which case that cost of sharing would be less. If I'm not currently doing that, however, it is something that I would consider in the future because the sharing does take a lot of time, and I feel my time could be better spent listing regular items and not just sharing the same items every day. However, at this moment, that's currently something that I'm doing. Also, bad buys are going to continue to happen. This by no means is a way to say you should only sell high-priced items or never sell lower-priced items. This is just me being reflective on, if I sell a lower-priced item, this is actually what I'm making from it, or this is what it costs to sell that item. And with that, higher comp values or items that have higher comp values tend to give you a little bit more cushion on if you need to share it for 3 or 6 months. That time it takes, you still end up getting a really great return as far as profit at the end. Higher comp items also might end up selling for significantly less. And I know this has happened to me, and I'm sure it will continue to happen. You go to look up an item, all the comps are, $40 to $60. Yes, please, you pick it up and it sits and you end up selling it 12 months down the road for $10, and that wasn't your intention. So that's also something to consider. Will probably still always happen, at least for me. Hopefully not too often. Cheap, free is not always good. And this is something that my mom, who also helps me source, and I are constantly thinking of, to not look at the price tag up front, but look at a number of other factors. How quickly do we think this will sell? How much are the comps for? And what is the competition out there? So there's something that I'm really trying to look at these days, which is the sell-through rate. And some of the apps provide that information on items. Poshmark doesn't. But what I like to know is how many available items similar to this are out there and how quickly are they selling. And if they're not selling quickly because there's a lot out there, then you might be taking a lower price if you're wanting to move the item. One other thing I did not include in this because I think it varies significantly by person. Time and mileage to go sourcing. That is something I factor in. Mine is unusual. It does take me an hour to get to any regular thrift store. And that is one of the reasons I choose to go 2.5 hours to the LA bins, because in my situation, I have to drive quite a bit of ways to get to any thrift store. I live in a very rural area. I'm very happy with where I live, and I like to go sourcing approximately once per week. So that cost of mileage and time to go sourcing for a full day is something I also calculate into that equation. So with that said, this is just my few examples of what I'm trying to consider when I go sourcing, that there are more costs involved to sell an item than some of us may understand. And so I'm going to keep deep diving into numbers. I should have a little mini series on what I find, and hopefully that's going to be helpful for you. If it is, feel free to give the little thumbs up. That way I know you are liking this content, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Hope everyone's having a good day. Bye.